If you're not Canadian, you might not know what Tim Hortons is, so let me try and explain it in the simplest terms. Tim Hortons is a coffee shop. It's a coffee chain in Canada that has extended to the US and to other countries around the world. But it's as synonymous with Canada as Wayne Gretzky or hockey is. And I even have a Tim Hortons mug right here. So it's a well known chain within Canada, and for the most part, they've been well respected. But now, a couple of Tim Hortons heirs have decided to cut benefits to workers after the minimum wage hike started this year. Employees at an Ontario Tim Hortons owned by the children of the chain's founders say they've been told to sign a document acknowledging they are losing paid breaks, paid benefits, and other incentives as a result of the province's minimum wage hike. And as I alluded to before, who are the owners of this particular franchise? Ron Joyce Jr. and Jeri-Lynn Horton Joyce, the son and daughter of the chain's co-founders, Ron Joyce and the late Tim Horton. Employees say they are married. So this Tim Hortons franchise, located in Coburg, Ontario, is owned by the billionaire heirs of the Tim Hortons fortune, Ron Joyce Jr. and his wife, Jeri-Lynn Horton, who, oddly enough, their parents, Ron Joyce and Tim Horton, are the ones that founded Tim Hortons, and Ron Joyce ended up buying the remaining stores from the Tim Horton family in, I believe, the 70s. So Ron Joyce is the one that has the majority of the money, and he's currently worth $1.4 billion. Now, it's not clear how much his son, Ron Joyce Jr., who owns this franchise, is worth, but you can imagine that he has access to some of that money. Now, it's important to note here that this is a franchise. So the details that I'm about to read you is not applicable to all of the Tim Hortons locations. This is just one particular franchise in Coburg, Ontario, that happens to be owned by the Tim Hortons heirs. Now, here is what the details that was sent to the employees of how their benefits are changing. Here's what it said. Breaks will no longer be paid. A 9-hour shift will be paid for 8 hours and 20 minutes. These changes are due to the increase of wages to $14 an hour minimum wage on January 1st, 2018, then $15 per hour on January 1st, 2019, as well as the lack of assistance and financial help from our head office and from the government. So these seem like pretty drastic changes. Now, legally, how can the Tim Hortons franchise owners do this? Well, it's because non-union employees in Ontario are covered by the Employment Standards Act. The Act doesn't require employers to give employees coffee breaks or any other kind of break other than eating periods. Meal breaks are unpaid unless the employee's employment contract requires payment. So Tim Hortons employees are non-union, and because they're non-union, franchise owners have complete control over how to handle employment matters, including wages and benefits. Now, employees aren't just losing their paid breaks. Besides losing paid breaks, the document states workers with more than 5 years of service will have to pay 50% of the cost of benefits, and employees with between 6 months and 5 years service will have to pay 75%. An employee with more than 5 years service told CBC News that prior to this, their benefits were covered 100% by the company. And on top of that, employees are also losing incentives for working on their birthday and for working 6 months without taking a sick day. Now, all these loss of benefits and paid breaks are disturbing to me, but what really stands out here is losing the incentives for working on their birthday and for working 6 months without taking a sick day. That seems egregious to me, because how often is that benefit really taken advantage of? I mean, if you do work on your birthday, the employees that do work on their birthday, it's still just once a year that they're having whatever benefit they had. And for working 6 months without taking a sick day, there you were incentivizing your employees to show up for work and not just take random sick days. But you take away these benefits that clearly you could have lived with. These could have been kept in. So by taking these out, it really seems more like you're just being a dick. And this isn't really about trying to protect your bottom line. This is simply that you're an asshole And it really shows, because this is the one store that's doing this. The one store that happens to be owned by a billionaire. Now, let's get to a comment from an employee at the franchise. The benefits are what kept me there. Now you're going to make me pay that? I don't understand why you can take it away. Sounds like you are penalizing your staff because the government is trying to help your staff. Another employee said that with unpaid breaks and having to pay 50% of the cost of benefits, their biweekly paycheck will actually be $51 lower than it was before the minimum wage hike. So to me, this really drives home what these changes to benefits are about. They're about greedy billionaire heirs. These are people that can absolutely afford to pay their employees the $14 an hour minimum wage. But instead, because they're forced to do that, they're making all these other changes to benefits so that their numbers appear exactly the same, or maybe even make more money because of the changes to benefits to employees. So this is just purely about greed, because no other Tim Hortons franchise is forced into this position. These people can absolutely afford this. And another thing that drives that home is this next quote from the article, which is my favorite sentence in the entire piece. Employees say the owners of the franchise are at their winter home in Florida. Unbelievable. These franchise owners couldn't be reached for comment because they're at their winter home in Florida. Must be nice. Now, I have nothing against rich people. My problem are greedy rich people. People who have it all, but even then, it's not enough. Now, in most cases, in stories like this, I don't think it's useful to shame people. But this is a rare situation where shame might actually reinstate the benefits. So I'm going to point out here, this is the Tim Hortons on Division Street in Coburg, Ontario. Boycott it. If you're in Coburg, if you know what this Tim Hortons is, don't go there. Don't go there until these benefits are reinstated. Now, if enough people hear and share this story and the outrage continues, they may in fact reinstate the benefits. But for now, Ron Joyce Jr. and Jeri-Lynn Horton Joyce should be known as greedy Tim Hortons heirs.